Last night I had a realization and used it with an example, and tonight I had to use it in practice. Things are happening more quickly in that manner, and I think you are feeling that too, that things that you used to have more time between, the consequences are more instant now. It shows you your power of what you and your decisions of action or inaction, or even of intent. It shows you how quickly they manifest. It shows you your power in real time. And that is powerful because it brings your awareness to your power. It brings your power to your awareness. It's a fun journey, but it's a feeling-full journey. And it's quite, I want a better word than interesting, but it is interesting to get used to leaning into large feelings, leaning into your feelings in general. But when you lean into large feelings, that the instinct of your response is to do anything else, anything, then it's kind of like ripping back the curtain on The Wizard of Oz. It was more immersive and fantastical before. This great specter of grandeur, but it's really not real, and it's not with the best intentions, so it doesn't serve us anymore. It's not something that is needed, the theatrics and the drama and the suffering of the consequences. Consequences is not a bad word. It's a very neutral word, like all words are. But when you see the consequences, we have that negative association with the word because you notice it. It's like when you are gifted an out from that consequence, negative consequence, then you don't really see it. It's not affecting you in a negative way. And because you didn't really expect to be affected negatively or positively by whatever that thing was, then you kind of don't notice the lack of the negative consequence, which is just a positive consequence. It's tricky to notice it. It's fun to get good at it. I have an example of that. So yesterday I was driving, and on our road, at the end of the road which connects to the main road, there's been a detour for the last week or so. And I was going to drive on it normally, taking the detour, following it, but because I was brought out somewhere else, I ended up going somewhere else and avoiding the area where I was planning on taking. And I thought it was strange, but it was something that I had no control over. And I think I recognized it in the moment as the universe keeping me away from whatever that was. And it was so simple. It was just road work. It was just a detour. And it was just one of the many ways to get around the detour. And just because it wasn't the one I had planned on taking didn't mean anything at all, really. Didn't change anything. But I kind of saw it. I kind of saw where I would have been going and just kind of noted, oh, thank you for whatever I just avoided. Who knows? I'll never know. I'll never know what it was unless I try to. I could find out, but I don't need to. I could do hypnosis. I could look at the records. I could find it later on, but I don't need to know, because in that moment I felt that I had been redirected, and it felt like a good thing. It felt like a gift, like I was being escorted, and in a nice way. So I said something to my daughter in the backseat, and I brought our attention to it, said thank you, and we moved on with our day. I thought about it a couple times after that, but that's just an example of this. How we don't notice the good things because it wasn't necessarily a large positive. It was just the lack of a negative, unforeseen consequence. I don't even know what the consequence was of, just the direction I decided to go in. I kind of went with the flow. I kind of let myself be guided, I suppose. I don't really remember that moment. Maybe that's what this is bringing my attention to, is to next time notice the moment where my choice turns into going with the flow instead of choosing something with focus and intent and action. All of the readers I've been watching on YouTube lately are saying there's no more action needed. And that's a hard pattern to break that everybody is noticing. We've been programmed to feel like we always need to do something, produce something, whatever it is. And I had a wonderful visit with my mother today, and I saw that she is here with us at this place as we are all going through it. And I was so proud of her. I said it so many times. I said, Mom, I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad to know that I didn't know. I didn't know that we were going through the same thing at the same time. I said, Mom, you're ascending. And like, I'm so knowledgeable, and you know, she wasn't my role model for it. And she's so knowledgeable, and she broke a lot of cycles. She went through a lot of critique, probably, and her decisions were for the better. Made my life better. She made a lot better for me. So thank you, Mom. Thank you, Mommy. Tonight I had decided to watch something different than readings. And the readings I've been watching are saying that you should be creating more than you're consuming. And this is only my second video. Not that I've ever made, but if I post this next, then this will be my second video I've ever posted. And getting into this mode and this identity has taken some getting used to for me. And I really like it, but I... It needs to feel authentic for me. My mom asked me today, when do you start making money on YouTube? And of course, how do I answer that specifically for me? But I don't really want to be monetized because that means ads, and I don't support that. I would choose to not have ads. Our daughter knows them as nonsense and balderdash. And maybe if it was for things I supported, I would only accept sponsorships from someone I actually know and trust and support and share the same values with. But I don't think you can do YouTube ads that way. And until you can, then I will be no part of it. Because that is in alignment with my values. In alignment with me and my truth. With our truth. And so, tonight I watched something different. It was Rings of Power. I get a lot of that narrative, and I learn from anything I watch, anything I read, anything I see, anything I hear. I can get something out of it, many things usually. And it's always been that way. And I've often had that intent, especially in recent years, going into something. And I think I did tonight, but I also had a feeling that was like cheating on a diet. Because aside from some unavoidable football games on in the house, or award show, whatever the most recent one was, and trying to spend time with my watching Trailer Park Boys. And I still get something out of that too. And as a satire and as a social commentary, of course, that is resonant, but it's not the content of the people on YouTube that I resonate with, that I have been exclusively making what I consume. And I noticed the consequences of it. I was the consequences of it. I said a hurtful thing when I didn't have to. All I wanted to do after was apologize. But he had gone to bed, and so I wanted to turn to something. I don't really drink, but I knew there was a beer in the fridge, and I wanted to go and drink that. Like anything. I wanted to do anything. Preferably smoke weed, but I've also been intent on what I've been consuming with that, and I haven't been. I stopped, and I am sticking to that, and I have my own reasons that are mostly for the health of my mouth or my lungs or my skin. But really, it was just so that I didn't turn to it. It was just so that I could not use it as a crutch. And I wanted to do that tonight after I said the hurtful thing. It was of my own making. And I wanted to run away from it so bad that I was willing to put toxins of any sort in my body. Not willing, because I did not choose to do either of those things, but they came up very quickly. They were the first reactions, besides thinking about going upstairs and apologizing and imagining how that would go, but also knowing that I had things to do before, going to bed, and I wasn't imagining coming back downstairs at that time. So I really just sat with myself and tried to come up with a different way to what to do with those feelings. I didn't know. To do what? I didn't know. And I figured it out, but it wasn't... It was cleanup. I was cleaning up my feelings in a healthy way. But I want to get to the point where the cleanup starts before that. I don't want to say hurtful things. I want the apology to come up immediately. My way of dealing with it was, we still have our Christmas tree up, which convincing everyone to keep it up longer is the only thing that I can do in my heart to make the sacrifice worth it. I do not understand this culture of growing trees for years just to cut them down and sell them for not very much money and just put their carcasses up for decoration until they dry out, and then not even use the wood for anything. They're not even being utilized. It's just complete waste. Being burned in bonfires, adding more smoke into the atmosphere. But I don't understand why can't we celebrate the living trees? Why do we have to cut them down? Sorry, that is off topic. I would strongly urge everyone to stop doing that, please. Thank you. So that's what I did. I went to the tree. I went to water the tree. It's not really drinking much water anymore. It's quite dry. And I sat with the tree and already feeling my own feelings of regret and being mad at myself, and I certainly haven't gotten into the forgiveness space yet. I think this video will help me to do that. Making this video will. And I sat with the tree and I held a branch and I just thought of all this. I just felt the sadness. I felt it, and just like wanting to turn to smoking weed or drinking alcohol, like that beer was gonna do anything. But I wanted to turn away from this feeling of the sadness and strife of the trees, of the world, for all of the generations of humanity, just everything that we have done to trees and all that we have used them for, and all the beautiful things that have come from it too, but that they were already beautiful to begin with. And this lack of connectedness that has allowed this, allowed people to think that they couldn't even do that. And the feeling was big. And I've always had this. I've always felt for the trees and planets and animals and people, children, whatever, everyone, everything. This is not a strange feeling to me. And even now, I'm 31, you'd think I'd have faced it enough, but I don't know if I've ever leaned into it, because this was a moment. It seemed like a turning moment. It seemed new or different or evolving. It's a new evolution. It's sitting with this feeling, sitting with the tree, looking at the decorations on the tree. One of them, right in front of me, was carved out of wood of a tree. It's not even a really great carving of a tree. It's almost a mockery. And I felt all the strong, passionate feelings. And the moment that the urge came to turn away, it was like you could have taken a less hurtful path. But I turned back. I leaned into it. I just tried to stay. It was like I was gonna say it was like a wind blew me this way, but I didn't want to bring a natural force like the wind into it, because it didn't feel, the natural thing felt like leaning into it, turning back into it. I wanted to. I don't remember wanting to do that before. There's been times of self-pity in states of depression that I probably have because it was more dramatic. But this was not that. This was nothing to do with me. I'm not sure about that. Maybe I just made room. I think I made a lot of room for allowance and acceptance and allowing myself to be guided, like in my earlier example with the detour. I think this was a moment where I allowed myself to be guided, and I was aware of it. I saw it happening. And the choice was given to me. I saw the path, I saw the fork, and it was like the other day I came to a fork off an exit, and I just slowed down and stopped in the middle and put my hazards on, and there was somebody behind me, and they just went around me, and then I got my GPS up and I searched for the way to go, and then I, got back in. Maybe a younger, less sure me wouldn't have done that. Maybe there would have been fear that I let in, that would have been like, well, this isn't safe. But I'm not letting the fear in anymore. And anything that is a choice that would be the smart choice. So here's the thing about fear is, one of the hypnotists that was my mentor calls it fear or common sense fears. And in this protocol, we would leave the common sense fears alone, kind of like making them so that they benefit the person only for their highest good, but only working with the other fears that were not common sense fears. But the thing about acting out of love rather than fear is not necessarily making it so that you do it because it's common sense, it's smart, it's the right thing to do, it's the safe thing to do. You can do the same thing. The outcome is usually the same. You still usually take the same action. You just switch it from saying, I am doing this because I'm afraid this could happen, this bad thing could happen, and you change it to, and you say, because I love this person, I am going to do this thing that would be the smart thing to do or the safe thing to do. It's very easy. You just change your focus from the possible negative to the absolute love. The undeniable. The fear was just a possibility, but the love is undeniable. And the lesson that I learned last night, when I really allowed space for that last night, I really made a lot of space for myself and sat with a lot. And as I did that, it came to me that anything that I need in my head, anything that I think I need, this or whatever, just change the word need to am. It was like I unlocked the I am, and I was like, oh, not what I expected. It was like very recently I had an ego death, and I realized why people call it death. It feels like death. It feels like you're dying, which is crazy to experience on a random night. But of course it wasn't random in my life. It was just sudden. I was just watching a video. I guess I'll link it below. I have to remember whose video it was, but it brought up such feelings. I think it was Courtney. I don't remember if she was channeling Zero or not, but I think Zero was saying, you are worthy. And it brought up so much in me. Resistance, but also just immense everything. A lifetime's worth of my whole life of not feeling like enough or worthy, of even taking care of myself. Like, I just got a $55 haircut yesterday, and that was the first time in my life that I'd ever spent more than $30 on a haircut, because I didn't think I was worthy of that. And I'm breaking through that. The haircut, some other purchases, buying things for myself, that has really gotten me through the lack mentality. I don't have any money in my bank account, but I've made several purchases, and when I can, however I can, I put money in my account. And it's been happening before they've been processed. So I'm getting all these things for myself that are self-care things. And I'm not worrying about how they'll be taken care of. And for anybody who's wondering how the universe will take care of you, that is one of the ways. It is like just believing that something is in the mail coming to you. You don't have to worry about how or when or what it is or why. Just know that it's coming to you. And you don't need to worry about, it might be really quickly. It might take a little bit extra time than you thought. It doesn't matter. Don't even think about it. There's nothing you can do about it. You can track the package, you can see where it is, but how does that help you? You don't need to plan for it. And so when I made that realization about the I am, I used that tonight. And so when I was sitting with the tree, and I thought, I need help, because I wanted to tell people to stop cutting down trees for Christmas. And I just thought it was too big. And so I heard the thought in my head, I need help. And I came in my thoughts, and I just, it was like this big halt. And I changed it. This is the alchemy. I just changed it to, I am the help. I am help, is what I said. And I just changed the word need to am. I need help, I am help. And then after that, when the feelings felt big and I wanted something and I thought, I need weed, I am weed. How's that? Like, whatever power that would give me, whatever comfort or distraction or good feeling that would give me, I am it. That's fun, right? So that's how I came into this video, that it's fun and interesting. Lean into the big feelings. I think I've been having that intention, but this was more automatic, and that's why it felt guided, because I don't think I've spent enough time doing that intentionally, maybe, or thinking about it enough. Maybe I framed myself for it, but I didn't feel that I had done the preparation work for this to the point where it would become an automatic thought, like how the apology came up as an automatic thing. Yes, I've been working on my interpersonal relationships and my own emotions and communicating so much that, of course, that was my instant response or immediate feeling, but this was so quick. And so the detour that I had to take is Breakneck Road. It was so quick. It was like, it's called Breakneck Road because you're going down this turn downhill on our road, and it's a fork that comes off of it. So you're already going downhill, and to have to turn 35 degrees or so, it's whiplash. It was so quick. The guidance was so quick to go from I want to turn away to the feeling to no, I'm going to lean into the feeling. And I didn't have those thoughts. I don't remember verbal thoughts in my internal monologue. I don't remember that. It was just a feeling. It was like a physical looking away. I started looking away from the tree. And immediately, like, I don't know if I leaned forward, but it's just what it felt like. And the whiplash of it being so quick was what makes me think it was guided. And I appreciate it because it was big. The feeling got bigger, but not for very much longer. Same with the ego death. It was being told that I was worthy, that I am worthy. See, it's still working to put it in the present tense. But there I go. I did the work. And it's the feelings that it brought up were such the epitome of those feelings that are associated with worthiness. So it was guilt and shame and grief, but also just immense sadness at maybe what I had gone through living like that. And, you know, my ancestry of all the lineage and generations that it went down through to everyone in my family history and parents to get down to me, and what was done to everyone before me, and how everybody breaks cycles in their generation, and more and more and more. until it gets to me and I'm still breaking cycles. And now my daughter, I know that I've given her some of the same things that I had to live with and break. And so it's, I know it gets better every time, but to look at it all like that, to feel it all, the feelings were so big and so overwhelming and consuming, so all-consuming. I felt just, for my body, it was too much, and it felt like dying. The pain, it was painful. It felt like, I think I had a thought that like, oh my God, this is what dying feels like. But then I broke through. What did I break through with? Oh, I hope I wrote this down somewhere. I would love to get back to you guys with this. This is important. What was my breakthrough? I came through it. There was an other side to it. I'm on the other side of it, but it was like I was crying and crying and crying, and I was audible. And then it was like that. I was calm. And it wasn't crazy like a mania. It wasn't manic. It wasn't depressive. It wasn't suffocating. It was just like I'd been holding my breath, holding in that feeling, and then just, I think it was something Courtney said, something Zero said. I wonder if I need to put that in here. I think it was an I am thing. We had the books, the I am discourse. We had those books in my shelf in our living room for as long as I can remember. I never read them. I probably have them now. They were my grandparents, or maybe it was just my mom that bought them. I think it was from her parents, but I knew it was important, but I never, that's just not me. I like to figure things out. I like to experience them. I gave myself a lot of that in this life. I figured out quarks, like by myself in my head. I was really high. I like got really, really just, I had to go to bed, had to lie down. But then I'm like face down in my pillow and I'm just thinking about how, like, I got down to like, you know, electrons and neutrons and protons, and I was like, no, there has to be something smaller, because these are three different things and something has to make those up. And I just, like, I don't know, it was so fun because I was just like going through it, like breaking through every layer to the next. And I came out and I told my boyfriend that I was like, there's something smaller than them. And he looks at me and he goes, you mean like quarks? And I was like, I don't know, is that what, are those smaller? And he was like, yeah. And he like showed me a video, or he like looked it up and defined it for me, and I was like, yes, those. And he was like, yeah, we know about those. I didn't. I wanted to figure it out. Same with the I am. I couldn't read about it in a book. I had to live it and experience it and realize it. I love realizing things. Even silly things, like words. I think a lot about, I wonder about that word and its origin, and I like figuring it out just in my head. It's fun. All of this is fun. I hope you're having fun. I hope whatever you're doing in your mind is enjoyable. Always laugh when you feel compelled to. Don't ever hold that back. I make myself laugh a lot when I'm alone. It's entertaining. It's uplifting. Like, it lightens the mood, of course. It's giddy, usually, and silly and ridiculous sometimes, but it's part of why I like being alone with myself. And when I'm like that around others, and there are reactions, and then, I need to, well, I don't need to respond to it, but I am the response. I embody the response. So it's coming to me, but I think I am at my best when I am like that with others. I think you are too. Let's try it more. We have. I know we have been doing it, but let's try it more because we know it's fun. Let's see how fun it can be.